What can you do? Can you do me sits? Oh, they're pretty sits.
Sue's dogs are her distraction, a distraction from the pain and the loss. She's struggling to be on her own after months of sitting at her dying husband's bedside. In July 2021, Simon was diagnosed with the most aggressive form of motor neurone disease. By September, he was paralysed from the neck down. He developed serious stomach complications and a chronic bed sore. He was in agony.
I eventually said to the nurse, why is this so bad? Why can't you get rid of it? And she said, I'm sad to say that Simon is decomposing while he's still alive. And I know he's not the only one because I've spoken to other people and it's horrible. And some of his teeth had gone missing. And I was told that was because his gums will have been going and he'll have swallowed the teeth.
As Simon grew weaker, he took what little action he could to speed up the inevitable. He stopped eating.
He'd chosen to starve himself to death if it carried on any longer. But at the point where he got that bad, it was too late to starve himself to death.
Do you want to see a change in the law?
Desperately. I don't want to see anybody suffer like Simon did. Absolutely desperately.
So this is the House of Keys, our Parliament on the Isle of Man.
In parliaments across the British Isles, formal and informal talks are taking place to see if and how assisted dying can be legalised. Nowhere is closer to making it a reality than here on the Isle of Man. If the law passes, terminally ill patients on the island could have the option of legally taking their own lives with medical help from as early as next year.
At the moment there's a lot of the unknown and fear of the unknown. I think when you look at other jurisdictions who brought in assisted dying, to begin with there's that reticence, but as people become more au fait with how assisted dying works, as they actually see it in practice and get the right training and support, more and more people see the benefits of it.
The proposed bill would make assisted dying available to patients who meet a strict criteria. They must be adults who have the capacity to make decisions for themselves. Residents must have spent more than a year living on the Isle of Man. They must be suffering from a terminal illness where there is no likelihood of improvement, and expected to die within 6 months. The proposals would see assisted dying provided through the island's health system, with doctors potentially offered an opt-in clause. But some medical leaders are concerned it could result in vulnerable people being coerced and are worried that it could put huge unintentional financial strain on health services.
Anyone that moves with a diagnosis that may be terminal inevitably brings with them significant cost. We've got an island of 88,000 people or thereabouts, and funds are always scarce. And if a significant cost burden comes to us, entirely reasonably people wanting to move here for that reason, then something else gives. So we're concerned about the impact on Manx care, because the cost implications of people moving to the Isle of Man for end-of-life care and for the cancer care.
And there are also concerns about protecting vulnerable patients.
It's the people with vulnerability that I'm most concerned about, that maybe coerced, maybe feel a perception of being worthless and not want to be here, maybe feel that not being a burden to their family is the right answer. And it's these vulnerable people in society that I feel may be sucked into assisted dying.
That's James and that's Janet. That's when we were travelling around Australia.
Millie still finds it difficult to look at photos of her son James. She's beaten cancer once, but having witnessed her son die from the same disease, she wants the option of assisted dying if her cancer returns. And she believes concerns against assisted dying are outweighed by the pain some terminally ill patients are in.
James suffered. It's a nightmare. Sorry. It's been 3 years and it doesn't get better. It gets worse. It wasn't so much him dying. It was how he died. He died the most horrific death. He shouldn't have had to die like that. He shouldn't. I actually bought some tablets and a bottle of vodka. I was going to kill him. not everybody, but some people who are against it, they say, we don't need assisted dying. There's all this palliative care and there's all this, new drugs and all the rest of it. But let me tell you, all these wonderful drugs don't work for everybody. They don't even take the edge off.
Whatever happens here on the Isle of Man has no direct bearing on the rest of the British Isles. But it does show that some very difficult conversations are taking place. And if the assisted dying law is passed here, well, that could propel change elsewhere.
That's very clever.
Sue and Millie stand on one side of a highly emotive and divisive issue. But all sides accept that this difficult debate must happen. It's about who has control over your life and death.
Sit.
Ashish Joshi, Sky News on the Isle of Man.